Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're here to do another Polycade video here. If you guys have been following my channel, I did a full overview hardware review and impressions and going through all these controls and testing out different games and stuff. But today we're here to do something a little bit different on the Polycade. So I've been messing around with this thing for a while and going through all the games that this thing has to offer. A lot of people are always asking, what about the bigger games, the ones that the more demanding games, and I wanted to run some of the ones that I have, Street Fighter 5, Mortal Kombat 11, some of the ones that they talked about working on this thing. I wanted to show you guys how they run currently, right out of the box from Polycade, how you can actually get them to work, and what the settings look like when you want to get them to work at a reasonable FPS when it comes to a machine like this. But then we also want to evaluate the fact that a lot of people have been talking about upgrading the memory on the Polycade. So the Polycade comes with 16 gigabytes of RAM, and a lot of people are saying if you upgrade the memory, as the one I have here, to more than 16 gigabytes, that you would get better performance. Now, a lot of the people who have been building PCs for a while immediately pause and be like, why would you get better performance? 99% of the time when you upgrade the RAM, you're not going to get better performance. Well, there is a catch. The 16 gigabytes that are in here is single channel. So there's one single 16 gigabyte memory in there, and that causes it to not be as, you're not getting the full memory bandwidth when you're running games. And some games rely on dual bandwidth memory because they need to use the full entire memory speed in order to get some of these games to run. There's been a lot of games out there over time that people compared from single channel to dual channel memory that, things would actually run much better and you would actually get higher FPS. So in a case like this, when we're going from single channel, one memory stick to two, because you're getting, I got 32 gigabytes, 2/16 each, not only are you getting more memory, but you're upgrading the memory bandwidth that you can actually have for games to actually be able to utilize. So this may actually make a difference, but I haven't tried it yet. We're going to test it for ourselves. First, I'm going to show you a few games like Street Fighter 5, like I talked about, Mortal Kombat, running on the stock without doing anything, and then I'll show you guys how to upgrade the memory real quick. We'll retest, and then we'll see how these games actually run after it. So let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech, going for a brekkie is the gaming tech, gaming techie is the gaming tech, gaming techie.
Alright guys, so here we are right here with the Polycade here. So we are going to start off with Mortal Kombat 11 here. The game that I was running before was Mortal Kombat X. I was testing that too. But we'll see how Mortal Kombat 11 runs on this system. This is the first time I'm running it, so we're going to have to adjust the graphics settings and everything. I wanted to give you a very hands-on look exactly how this game runs for somebody who just got the Polycade with Mortal Kombat 11. And see if we actually get those FPS improvements when it comes to the memory. All right, so we have this coming up right now, loading up. I have the FPS counter. I know you guys probably ain't gonna see it, but it is sitting in green right there at the corner. I'll tell you guys exactly what we're looking at right now. As the game is booting up, we're at 50 FPS, but obviously that's with the game not running yet, so it's gonna dip down much lower than that if we run everything at stock settings. But we're gonna take a look at how all of this looks. So you can see right now, we're not off to a great start. If you guys are listening to the sound right now, you can see it's actually skipping right now. The audio is skipping over and over again to even be able to run the game. We're running at 14 FPS right now. And it's telling me the graphics card at AMD Radeon has not been found in the database. And it seems it does not reach our minimum performance requirements. We loaded the lowest graphic preset for you. Would you like to perform auto-config to approximate the best stable graphics? They lowered everything to the lowest, so we're going to go ahead and leave that right now. 27 FPS after that actually changed there. So we're going to go into the options really quickly and just see what the settings are currently set to. So right now we have the video settings. Everything is set to default here. We got the graphics displayed to borderless. We got 1920 by 1080. We're actually going to lower this for the time being. We're going to test all games in two ways. We're going to test it at 720p, and we're also going to test it at 1080 at the same time. So we'll start off at 720, see how that actually runs. We're going to have the graphics settings set to low, not minimum. We'll start off with low for now, and that's how we're going to test all of these games. We're going to do low at 720p first. We're going to go ahead and keep that here. And we're going to just do a single fight. We're at 38 FPS right now, kind of moving all over the place. Let's see. The audio lagging did seem to stop now. So it seems like at least that is going better now when everything was dropped to low, as opposed to the way it was before.
Special Forces, Desert Command.
So again, this is running at 720p at low settings. Loading seems pretty good. Running at 26 FPS right now. 39, 27.
It never ended, Sub-Zero.
About 30 right now.
Round 1, fight.
So right now we're running about 36 FPS. Obviously, a lot of people like to have their games running at 60 when it comes to fighters. But we are running at about 30 FPS. 30, 32 right now as I'm taking on this fight. Obviously for me, it's playable, but again, a lot of people are looking for 60 FPS when it comes to something like this. So we're gonna go ahead and pause this for the second round. We're gonna go back to the main menu, and we are not going to change this to low settings, but at 1080p. You can tell things are a lot more sluggish now than they were before, just by the way that things are moving around. We're running kind of in slow motion currently right now. We're gonna do the exact same one.
Special Forces, Desert Command.
So yeah, not running well. 16 FPS, the game is barely loading as you guys are looking at. It's all running in slow motion, so this is obviously not playable. At least the other version was a lot more, you know, it was at 30, but it was running much better. This is running at now 20 FPS.
Our clans must unite against.
We're gonna go ahead and skip that. And the fight here is, yeah, running at 22 FPS. So definitely not great. 20 to 22 is what we're getting, sometimes 18. So yeah, 20 FPS, 20 to 22 FPS at 1080p. So obviously not a playable frame rate at full resolution. Let's go ahead and go to the next one we're going to be testing, which is Street Fighter V here. All right, so we're at the main menu. Things are looking good at 60 FPS on the main menu at least. No issues with that. Let's go ahead and go into the options and see what we have things currently set to. Graphics settings are set to 1920 by 1080, which I assumed. And let's see what we have here. Picture quality is set to everything on medium. I would imagine that this is not going to run very well on medium, so we're going to test everything out again at low. We'll see what happens there at 1920. We're at 40. We have now dropped down to what I expected. 25 FPS right now at the character select screen.
Beyond the battle.
And you can see everything is running in slow motion. 30 FPS right now. 30 to 35 throughout these cutscenes.
Come on. Let's turn up the heat. Round 1. Fight.
All right, so things are definitely moving in a little bit of slow motion right now. It is saying 30 FPS, but it feels way worse than that. Every action or move that I do is much slower. This does not feel anywhere near as good as 30 FPS felt on the other game. On Mortal Kombat 11, that's for sure. I could barely do a move right now. Let's go back to the main menu real quick. We'll do it again in the exact same settings at 720p. But even still, we got 28 FPS right now on this character select screen. So things are still running in slow motion.
I was waiting for you. Round 1. Fight.
Yeah, it's obviously not running great, as you guys are looking at. It's actually running the exact same. It's running at 32 FPS, but it feels like 3. So I don't know if that FPS counter is off for this game. Dude, this does not feel like I can barely do any moves. It doesn't feel great at all. It feels exactly the same way as it did before, even though it's telling me it's 30 FPS. I would like to show you guys one more game that it seems like Street Fighter likes to freak these screens out too, which is interesting. I would want to show you guys one more game that is not like necessarily hugely graphically intensive, but a game that still isn't running at 60 FPS just to get another barrier. So I'm going to do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade, actually Wrath of the Mutants, that I played here before. And I think if I'm mistaken, you get like 40-ish. So we're going to see if that goes up, just to get a variation, you know, not just fighters and stuff, but how much will this memory help across all different games. So let's check out this last one before we do the memory swap here. Oh, actually, I lied. It's not. This is also at 30. It's obviously playable. It doesn't feel like crap, unlike Street Fighter. That doesn't even feel like 30. This feels like 30, just like Mortal Kombat did. Not 60, but it sometimes dips to 28, like it is right now. So yeah, it's sitting currently at 28, 29, 30. It kind of hovers in that kind of range right here. So we have 3 different games, all very different from each other. You know, we got some fighters, and then we got this game that's vastly different. That's still, you know, a little bit graphically intensive on this chip, and we're gonna see how much of a difference, you know, this game makes. And this is a newer game on the list as well. Wrath of the Mutants came out a little while ago. So we are going to see, of course, other games on here run really well. Like I talked about in my overview video, you know, games that are a little bit more simple. Shredder's Revenge is at 60 FPS locked because it's 2D graphics, not 3D like Wrath of the Mutants. You know, a lot of great games, Super Sports Blast, Tape to Tape, Tricky Towers, you know, Towerfall Ascension. There's a lot of great games, speedrunners, that play really well on here, but there are some games out there that are a little bit more graphically demanding that you may want to play on here, that you want to see how it runs. So now that we have that going, we're going to go ahead and shut this off, and we're going to go ahead and take the little mini PC out and upgrade the memory on this thing and see what we get and see how it's all done. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, guys, so we got the mini PC out of the actual Polycade here. This is the mini PC right here. And all we're gonna do is, I already did it, but there's 4 screws here on the corner. As you guys are looking at, you just take these 4 screws out with a Phillips head screwdriver. Once you have the 4 screws out, you literally just put your finger into this little hole area right here, and then you just kind of pull the case out, and it will snap right out. And then as you can see, you reveal the 2 memory slots right there. You got the one that's in there, and then the secondary one, the dual channel, that's not being used. So let's see how this thing actually comes out. So you can see the way that this pulls out, there's 2 little things kind of holding it together on the sides. You just kind of pull them apart a little bit, and it will flip right out. So really easy for it to come out, and it flips right out. So you can see the one that they were using before. This is a Lexar memory chip right here that was in here. So again, we're going to be using the crucial one that we have right here. So we're going to go ahead and take this out. Make sure you line it up correctly here so it kind of inserts only in one way. As you can see right here with the crucial one that I bought, you insert it and then you kind of just push down. And you can see that these 2 things that we hit before to separate it kind of clicks into place. So you know that it's in there. Then we're going to go ahead and grab the second one here. We're going to do the exact same thing. Just put it in there with the gold contacts kind of in there so they can't be seen. And then you just push down and you'll hear it snap in place. And that's it. Then you're kind of good to go. And you can see both memory sticks are now in there. So we officially have dual channel memory set up to get the full memory bandwidth that this thing supports. And yeah, let's go ahead and put the cover back on here with the 4 screws and let's see what this thing can now do. All right, guys, here we are, moment of truth. It powered on. I didn't have to do anything specific. I haven't even checked yet, but we're going to go ahead and see if this thing is seeing all 32 gigabytes of RAM right now. Obviously, the PC wouldn't have booted if it wasn't working, but just to verify that both sticks are showing properly. Yeah, 32 gigs of RAM, 31.4 usable. So we are all set with the RAM. So we'll see how much this actually makes the difference that we've been talking about. Let's go ahead and open up the Polycade software again here. All right, so here we are. Let's go ahead and we'll start off simple. Let's go ahead and start off with the least demanding of the bunch, which is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Again, we haven't done anything, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is great because you can't even customize the graphics in any way. It just runs as is. So we're gonna see exactly how much of a difference this actually makes running this game. Again, resolution's still the same, nothing has changed. We'll go ahead and hit play and normal. That loading time is so much faster than it was before, I'll tell you that. And yes, we got a drastic difference. Holy crap. The game is literally now running at 60 FPS. Wow, color me shocked. I knew that this was probably going to have a difference because I know dual channel is important in some games and some games demand it more than others. But wow, what a drastic freaking difference. Literally double the FPS making this change. This is kind of wild. Of course, not every game is going to go double FPS. Like I said, some games want dual channel memory more than others and it becomes a bottleneck if you don't have it. Obviously, this game is like that, but there are a lot of games like that out there, so this could be a drastic difference for a lot of people. But yeah, color me shocked on how much better this looks, or how much better this runs. Literally double the FPS. All right, we're not gonna sit here going crazy because I can sit here playing the game for you guys, but yeah, I'm pretty shocked on how well this is actually working right now. All right, so right now we had the game running at, I don't remember actually. What did we leave the graphics settings to? We left it at 1920 was the last thing we did. So let's go ahead and just see what 1920 looks like. Because 720p was smooth in this character selection. But when I went to 1920, you guys saw it wasn't smooth anymore. But I don't anticipate this game being able to run at 1080p, you know, perfectly at 60 FPS, but we'll see what the improvement is like.
Our combat is renewed, Scorpion.
It never ended, Sub-Zero.
It will end today.
Round 1, fight.
All right, so we got a pretty good substantial boost to the FPS here as well. At 1920 resolution, we are getting 42 FPS now. Again, pretty much almost double of what it was before at 28. So this brings it up substantially. And of course, if you drop the resolution down, you can get it to 60 FPS very easily. We're not even going to drop it down to 720 because that's not going to be necessary. But yeah, this looks really, really good. And we got a stable 42 FPS. So much better. It runs so much smoother. You know, there's a giant difference between 40 to 45 FPS versus 30. I think a lot of people know that. It's a much smoother feeling. And that's exactly what you get out of here with this game. We'll see what happens here with Street Fighter here to wrap us up. Menu system is already much smoother than it was. We'll see. Yeah, drastic difference. We're at 51 FPS here. We were at like what, 30 on this menu, or 28, and it was running like a slideshow. High 40s right now, hitting 50. This looks like it's going to be another double FPS type game. Here we go, and we are getting 60 FPS, guys. Literally locked 60 right now. We are literally at double the frames per second. What a wild chain of events on how much this makes a difference. But yeah, guys, I mean, check this out. This is literally at a locked 60 right now. It is kind of crazy how this actually... I'm kind of baffled on how big of a difference it makes. I mean, this is so much smoother, obviously. Yes, it's running at low, but it's running at 60 FPS locked at low. Maybe we can push it a little bit. But I'm really, really impressed with this mini PC now. Now we're kind of talking. We're going to try one more. I know we didn't test it before, but I'm interested to try this with you guys. Another game that's really fun to play on here is Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl 2. Here's to hoping that we get a good FPS at this. I am running it at medium though, not at low. And check it out, we got a 50 FPS. $50 FPS running in this game. I'm trying to remember the controls. I'm going through so many different games here that I forgot what controls do what. Got to get used to these games playing on an arcade stick. But yeah, this game is great. Now you got like a Super Smash Brothers games that you can play. Running at 60 right now. So again, and this is running at medium settings at 1080p. This is kind of what I was hoping for. I wanted to get some of these older games that are not incredibly demanding, but run really well on here. That, you know, weren't running that well. they were running okay. They were running at 40 FPS or 30 and stuff like that. And I always had to lower the resolution to 720 to get them to run at reasonable 60 FPS or something close to it at least. But this one right now is at a lock 60 as I'm staring up at the top of the screen. And yeah, this is awesome. This is increasing the frame rates to almost double in certain games. This game, like I said, ran at 40 before. Now it's at a lock 60, so much smoother at medium settings. This is awesome. Let's go ahead and wrap up my thoughts on this real quick with you guys. All right, guys, so that is my video to showcase you guys upgrading the RAM on this and how much of a difference it makes on the Polycade. Honestly, the Polycade should have shipped like this. It should have had dual memory because the impressions you get from one versus the other is completely different. Like I said, when I was playing the games before, some of the lower end games run fine. TMNT Shredder's Revenge runs at 60 FPS. Some of the other games ran really well. It obviously depends on the game. But then when I got into things like Street Fighter V, Mortal Kombat 11, and things like Nickelodeon's All-Stars Brawl 2, which is a great game to play on here, Multiverses, you know, a game that take a little bit more, Streets of Rage 4, you know, games that have a little bit more demanding of power, you know, they didn't run horribly, they ran, but sometimes, depending on the game, I'd have to lower it to 720p resolution, like I did with Mortal Kombat 11 and Street Fighter V, and even then still, it would run at 30 FPS like you guys saw, and Street Fighter was like a slideshow. Street Fighter must have really was looking for dual channel, and I did read that Street Fighter V is really dependent on dual channel memory, which is why even 30 FPS felt like crap. Unlike Mortal Kombat, which was at 30 FPS also with the single channel memory from before, but it felt like 30. It was still semi-playable. It just felt like 30. But Street Fighter was basically unplayable at 30. It was running like a slideshow. And then you go to, you know, insert this memory stick and you get these two dual channel memories. And everything that I've tried so far that you guys saw is running at either close or at double the FPS I was getting before. All four of those games that you guys saw were running close to or at double FPS. Street Fighter, double. Mortal Kombat, close to double. Brawl from Nickelodeon, double. I mean, you can't ask for anything better like that. This is, again, fantastic stuff. This is probably how they should have shipped their PC, but at the very least, 50 bucks will get you this. 50 or 60 is what I paid for this one. I'll have the link down below to my Amazon link so you guys buy the exact same one. 32 gigabytes. I wouldn't recommend buying the 64 gigabyte one. It's not going to make your FPS go up in any sort of way. Buy the 32 gigabyte and save yourself 40 or 50 bucks because there's no reason to add, you know, a 64 gigabytes of memory on here. It's way overkill, and the FPS isn't going to change because, again, what made the FPS change is going from single to dual channel has nothing to do with the fact that we went from 16 gigabytes to 30 to 32 in the majority of cases. So save yourself the money and get the 32 gigabyte. And man, what an upgrade. For 50 bucks, the Polycade just got a whole lot better, playing a lot more games, and I can't wait to go through more games and just see how they run now. Obviously, it's still going to have its limitations, but you know, you're not going to be able to run games at high settings. You didn't see me run Street Fighter V at 1080p on Ultra, but I wanted to run these games at 1080p resolution at lower medium. So hopefully most of them at medium. And that wasn't happening originally, but with this memory change, you saw that you can get 60 FPS on some of these games on lower medium. And, you know, for a mini PC, you know, that's fantastic. And it runs a lot of other games at 1080p and on medium or high, depending on the game. So, yeah, like I said, really, really impressive stuff. If you guys have any questions about what you guys have seen in today's video, leave them down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.